Today we're going to be adding and subtracting radicals. We're still on lesson 11.2. It's made up of different parts. Adding and subtracting radicals is just like adding and subtracting like terms. What do I mean by like terms? Similar radicals. How do I go about them? Steps. Step number 1, simplify if needed. Step number 2, add or subtract your like radicals. Just like this, radical 2 plus 3 radical 2. Similar radicals. What is the number beside the radical 2? It's an invisible 1. So it's 3 plus 1, so it's 4 radical 2. And look at this, radical 5 minus 3 radical 6. Can you simplify radical 5? You can't, because 5 is 5 times 1. Radical 6, can you simplify? You can't, because it's 2 times 3. So this is my final answer. I cannot add or subtract them because they are not alike. The first example, 4 radical 10 plus radical 13 minus 9 radical 10. Can I simplify radical 10? It's 2 times 5. I can't. Can I simplify radical 13? It's 13 times 1. I can't. Can I simplify radical 10? Again, I can't. So I group my like radicals. 4 radical 10 and a 9 radical 10 minus 9 radical 10. Bring them together and I add and subtract my whole numbers. 4 minus 9 is a negative 5 radical 10. The 13 doesn't have a like term, so I bring it down in my answer. And this is actually my answer as it is. Negative 5 radical 10 plus radical 13, and that's it. The second example is 5 radical 3 plus radical 48. Can I simplify radical 3? I can't. So I can simplify radical 14. Radical 14 is actually radical 16 times radical 3. Radical 16 is a 4. So my answer is 5 radical 3 plus 4 radical 3. Are they alike? Yes. So I add or subtract my whole numbers. 5 plus 4 is a 9 radical 3. Did you see how I simplified? First, you always have to simplify if you can, and then you add and subtract your like terms. The third example is 2 radical 7 plus 3 radical 63. Can I simplify radical 7? I can't, because it's 7 times 1. Can I simplify radical 63? Radical 63 is actually radical 9 and radical 7. Radical 9 is a 3. What do I have here? I have 3 and a 3, so I multiply them together and I bring down my radical 7. I rewrite it again. 2 radical 7 plus 9 radical 7. Are they alike, the radicals? Yes. So I take my whole numbers, 2 plus 9, which is 11 radical 7. In adding and subtracting, I have distributing. First I distribute, then I add or subtract. Then I distribute, so it's radical 5 times 4 minus radical 5 times radical 20. 4 times a radical 5 is a 4 radical 5 minus radical 5 times radical 20 is a radical 100. Can I simplify radical 5? I can't. So my answer is 4 radical 5. Radical 100 is actually 10 minus 10. And this is my final answer. Always remember, in adding and subtracting, I'm going to have distributive and I'm going to have multiplying binomials, 2 parentheses into each other. Here I have 2 parentheses and I need to multiply them first, then add or subtract my like terms. I distribute and I distribute again. So it's radical 7 times radical 7. Radical minus radical 7 times 3 radical 2 plus radical 2 times a radical 7 plus radical 2 times minus 3 radical 2. You can only multiply your radicals with each other and the numbers with each other. Radical 7 times radical 7 is a radical 49. Minus. The 3 is outside, I keep it outside. Radical 7 times 2 is a radical 14. Radical 2 times a radical 7 is again a radical 14. Plus and a minus is a minus. The 3 is always outside. Radical 2 times a radical 2 is a radical 4. And now I start simplifying. Radical 49 is a 7. Can I simplify radical 14? Nope, because it's 2 times 7. I can't. What do I do? Radical 4 is actually a 2. So it's 3 times 2. I rewrite it. 7 minus 3 radical 14 plus radical 14 minus 6. Where are my like terms? I have a 7 minus 6. On the other hand, I have negative 3 radical 14 plus radical 14. 7 minus 6 is a 1. Minus 3 plus, there's no number here, so it's an invisible 1. Minus 3 plus 1 is a negative 2 radical 14. This is my answer. Did you see what we did? We first distributed and multiplied, then we started simplifying our radicals, and then we added or subtracted our alike radicals. The sixth example we have 4 minus radical 2 parentheses 5 plus radical 2. Again, I start distributing. So it's 4 times 5 plus 4 times radical 2 minus radical 2 times 5 minus radical 2 times a radical 2. 4 times 5 is a 20 plus 4 times radical 2 is a 4 radical 2. Radical 2 times 5 is a 5 radical 2 minus radical 2 times a radical 2 is a radical 4. Let's simplify. Can I simplify radical 2? I can't. Radical 2 I can't. Radical 4 is a 2. So I rewrite 20 plus 4 radical 2 minus 5 radical 2 minus 2. And I group my like terms. 20 and minus 2 are similar. And I have plus 4 radical 2 minus 5 radical 2. 20 minus 2 is 18. Plus 4 minus 5 is negative 1 radical 2. This is my answer.